Hello, welcome to the second semester Generic English course. I am Dr. Vidya Patil, serving as Associate Professor of English at Government First Grade College for Women, Bidar. I will be guiding and assisting you during this course. In today's video, we will read and discuss Nora's monologue from the play A Doll's House, which was written by Henrik Ibsen. We have already got introduced to the famous writer Henrik Ibsen and his play A Doll's House. We have also understood a bit about Nora's character. Now we will study this famous monologue and try to understand Nora's views about the role of a woman in a male-dominated society. As you all know, A Doll's House is a play written by Henrik Ibsen. This play challenged marital norms and featured strong feminist themes. As a result, the play was both widely celebrated as well as criticized when it was first performed in 1879. This play has been translated into various languages. Before we try to read and understand Nora's monologue, let us first try to understand the term monologue. Some of the most iconic lines in the history of literature and cinema have come from monologues. When a character expresses his or her own thoughts and emotions into speech, they often create memorable lines which can connect to the audience. A monologue is a long form of speech delivered by a single character in a play or a film. The term monologue derives from the Greek words monos, which means alone, and logos, which means speech. These speeches are used by writers to express a character's thoughts, emotions, or ideas. Depending on what type of monologue is used, the character can be addressing themselves or another character or directly the audience. A monologue is often the vocalization of a character's thoughts, giving insight and revealing the details about a story's plot or its characters. This character's speech in and of itself can propel the story forward based on how other characters react to it and what events are caused as a result of it. Therefore, monologue is a long speech given by one of the characters where the character is either speaking to himself or herself or to some other character in the play or directly with the audience. Through the monologue, the character usually expresses his feelings, thoughts, or emotions regarding a given circumstance or a given context. In this definitive scene, where Nora gives a long monologue, the naive yet contriving Nora has a startling epiphany. She believed that her husband Trovold was a proverbial knight in shining armor and that she was an equally devoted wife. But when she goes through a series of emotionally draining events, she realizes that their relationship and their feelings were more make-believe than real. In her monologue from the Henrik Ibsen's play, she opens up to her husband with frankness as she realizes that she has been living in a doll's house. Let us now read the monologue. You have never loved me. You have only thought it pleasant to be in love with me. It is perfectly true, Trovold. When I was at home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything, and so I had the same opinions. And if I differed from him, I concealed the fact because he would not have liked it. He called me his doll child, and he played with me just as I used to play with my dolls. And when I came to live with you, I mean that I was simply transferred from Papa's hands into yours. You arranged everything according to your taste, and so I got the same tastes as your. Else I pretended to. I am really not quite sure which. I think sometimes the one and sometimes the other. When I look back on it, it seems to me as if I had been living here like a poor woman, just from hand to mouth. I have existed merely to perform tricks for you, Trovold, but you would have it so. You and Papa have committed a great sin against me. It is your fault that I have made nothing of my life. Nora, in this monologue, replies that Trovold has never understood her and that until that evening she had also never understood Trovold. She points out that for the first time in their 8 years of marriage, they are now having a serious conversation. She has realized that she has spent her entire life being loved not for who she is, but for the role she plays. To both her father and to Trovold, she had been a plaything, a doll. She realizes she had never been happy in Trovold's dollhouse, but has just been performing for her keep. She has deluded herself into thinking that she was happy, while in truth she has been quite miserable. Trovold admits that there is some truth to Nora's comments and asserts that he will begin to treat Nora and the children as pupils rather than playthings. Nora rejects his offer, saying that Trovold is not equipped to teach her and nor was she equipped to teach her children. Instead, she says she must teach herself and therefore she insists upon leaving Trovold. He forbids her to leave, but she tells him that she has decided to cut off all her dependence upon him, and so he had no right to dictate her actions. Trovold points out how she will appear to others, but now Nora says that she does not care anymore. He then tries to persuade Nora to stay in order to fulfill her sacred duties to her husband and her children. But Nora responds that she has an equally important duty to herself. She no longer believes in Trovold's assertion that she is a wife and mother above everything else. Nora says that she realizes that she is childlike and knows nothing about the world. She feels alienated from both religion and the law and wishes to discover on her own by going out into the world and learning how to live for herself, whether or not her feelings of alienation are justified. When Trovold accuses Nora of not loving him anymore, Nora says his claim is true. She then explains that she realized that she didn't love Trovold that evening when her expectation that he would take the blame for her, showing his willingness to sacrifice himself for love, wasn't met. She adds that she was so sure that Trovold would try to cover for her that she had been planning to take her own life in order to prevent Trovold from ruining his. Trovold replies that no man can sacrifice his honor for love, but Nora retorts that many women have done so. In the play, the word doll has been continuously used as a metaphor. In using the doll as a metaphor, Nora realizes her role as a woman in a man's society is purely ornamental. something cute to look at like a doll child. Further, a doll is meant to be used by the user. Thus, this comparison also refers to how women are expected to be molded by the men in their lives in terms of tastes, interests, and what they do with their lives. Throughout the monologue, Nora compares herself to a doll, like how a little girl plays with lifeless dolls that move in whichever way the girl wishes. Nora likens herself to a doll in the hands of the men in her life. Referring to her father, Nora recalls, "He called me his doll child and he played with me just as I used to play with my dolls." Nora continues in her monologue. In thinking of her life with her husband, she realizes in retrospect, "I was your little skylark, your doll, which you would in future treat with doubly gentle care because it was so brittle and fragile." In describing a doll as brittle and fragile, Nora means that these are the character traits of women through the male gaze. From that perspective, because women are so dainty, it necessitates that men like Trowold need to protect and take care of women like Nora. She then goes on to outline the role of women. By describing how she has been treated, Nora reveals the way women are treated in society at that time, and quite a few will resonate with what women are going through even today. Again, referring to her father, Nora mentions, "When I was at home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything, and so I had the same opinions. And if I differed from him, I concealed the fact because he would not have liked it." Similarly, she addresses Trowold by saying, "You arranged everything according to your own taste, and so I got the same tastes as you, or else I pretended to." Both of these short anecdotes show that Nora feels that her opinions have been disregarded or suppressed in order to please her father or to mold her tastes according to those of her husbands. Nora's monologue is an example of self-realization. In the monologue, Nora reaches self-realization in a fit of existential fervor as she exclaims, "When I look back on it, it seems to me as if I had been living here like a poor woman, just from hand to mouth. I have existed merely to perform tricks for you. You and Papa have committed a great sin against me. It is your fault that I have made nothing of my life. Oh, I can't bear to think of it. I could tear myself into little bits." Henrik Ibsen uses Nora's monologue to express his views about how women are being suppressed in the society. He talks about how women need to go out and find their identity, and not they can do this only when they are not dependent on men. The final scene where Nora leaves the house by slamming the door has gone on to become a symbolic scene for the emancipation of women. Nora's character is a symbol for all those women who want to become independent and carve an identity for themselves. I am sure that after reading this chapter, Nora's monologue, you all must also be inspired to fight for your rights, to raise your voice, and to carve a niche for yourself. I hope you like this video. Thank you.